Hey there everybody, I'm Katrina Cosplay and today I'm reviewing a cosplay costume. So I ordered this Stocking Anarchy cosplay off of Miccostumes around August of 2022, maybe like July the month before. I initially wanted to wear it for Con, but it was way too hot. It did arrive in time, important to note. But it was way too hot that weekend to be wearing long sleeves and especially black synthetic fabric, so I ended up going just casually. I have a vlog on the con, by the way, so if you're curious then there is that. But then I finally did wear it in the winter this year, first for a photo shoot which I just did at home, and then a bit over a month ago for Heroes Made in Asia, which I also have a vlog of, by the way. Thought I'd promote some stuff. Before we start on the review portion, if I'm sitting weird, it's because my back hurts. I don't know why, I don't know how I strained it, but my back really hurts currently, so I'm in pain. But anyways, let's get into the actual costume reviews. So the costume is about $30 on their site. I do recommend keeping an eye on their sales because Miccostumes often does costume sales, especially during seasonal periods or right before or after the con season starts and ends. And this costume isn't expensive by any means, especially if you're gonna buy a couple costumes from them to save on shipping. $30 for a costume isn't a lot, so I'm quite happy with what I have. But yeah, and I have now also worn it both for a photo shoot and for a convention, so it's been worn a couple times and I'm still quite alright happy with it. So let's actually have a look at the details of this costume. So to start off with the dress, I do also have some shots of me wearing it, but I just have it here as well. So the dress is a black dress, the sleeves are a bit puffy and then they go straight down. I wish I knew sewing terms or garment making terms, but I don't, so yeah. But yeah, it pretty much looks like the way stockings dress is supposed to look. The collar part is attached to the dress, it's not a separate thing. I do prefer this because wearing different layers means things shift and move around, which gets a mess, and then you have a bunch of photos where the things aren't sitting right and you're just like, oh, I love this pose, but the dress looks very silly, so we're not going to post that. But tangent aside, the collar has these pin tucks, I think that's what they're called, which I think look pretty good. The little tie is just sewn in there as well, literally just a straight stitch that they've ironed flat. But yeah, that's pretty good. You can see they have the Miccostumes label inside, and then the bottom of the dress has the stripe and the little triangle things, and then the cuffs match that as well. All looks pretty decent. This is very much a synthetic type of material. It's thick enough, it's not see-through whatsoever, but it doesn't stretch at all, and it also gets quite warm, so I do think that's important to note. Moving back to the skirts, I was quite surprised when I got this to see that this is quite a full skirt. Not in the sense that I did expect it to be a circle skirt, but they have sewn some tulle onto the lining. They have 2 layers of a less stiff tulle and then a stiffer tulle that is also gathered a bit more at the bottom and a bit shorter, and this very much helps get that shape right, so I'm quite happy with that because it means I didn't have to think about petticoats because I always forget to pack mine when I go to cons. But yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised by that. It isn't the nicest feeling netting slash tulle, but the lining is long enough that I didn't feel it on my legs at all, so it didn't scratch my legs up, which was nice. There seems to also be some sort of tulle inside the puffy part of the sleeve, so it keeps its shape. And then finally, the dress does have a zip in the back. It's an invisible zipper, and it goes down past the waist, so it's quite easy to get into. Yeah, there is a lot of just single layers, but this is pretty much your average cosplay costume of decent quality. Like, this is what I expect when I paid $30 for a cosplay costume. Moving on to the other pieces of the costume, there is also a waistband, which is separate. This is slightly tighter than the waist is on the dress. For me, that's good because it very much gives like the hourglass shape that I want. But if you have a larger waist than the size chart tells you it is, and I would suggest being a bit cautious about the size that you're ordering, because this does not stretch at all. Keep that in mind. The bow itself looks very pretty. There's something inside, I think interfacing, but it might also be foam because it's quite thick. And it holds its shape quite well. This has been in a car, I sat on it, it's very stiff, and it doesn't lose its shape, which I like. And then the back of it is just Velcro. That does mean you can kind of adjust it a little bit. I hide the Velcro behind the bow because that makes sense to me. So yeah, this is also quite good. It does also have like the size label on here as well. In case you have multiple sizes of this costume and got confused. Really good reference. Next up is something that I have mixed feelings about. So, Stocking has a head bow, which also came with the costume, but it looks like this. This isn't terrible. Let me just explain what it is. So this is like some sort of foam, and it's covered in fabric, and then they've just glued like a clip on there. And on the one hand, I have mixed feelings about this, because on the one hand, it is a little bit cheap. Like, if you're able to make this, why not do the exact same thing for this? Because I think this looks better. But looking at Stocking's character design and like how it sits on the wig, this is pretty accurate. So I think this was an active like creative decision. So make of that what you will. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good either though. It's peculiar, let's just say that. It's got character. But yeah, so if you want like a proper bow, then I suggest either trying to make it yourself. There are a lot of tutorials on how to make bows, so that shouldn't be too difficult. I personally did not feel like making a whole nother head bow, and this is good enough for now. I might make one in the future, but trying to find like the exact matching fabric is going to be a pain, and this is doing the job just fine for me. But yeah, that's kind of like the detailed choices that you're going to get with a cheaper costume. I do also want to be very transparent that this is also what is promoted on the website. If you look through the sample photos of the costume, it is very accurate. All of this is exactly the way it looked on the website. So I can't be too mad at this. And then finally, the costume also came with some knee socks. These knee socks are fine. They stretch quite well, which is good because I have relatively thick thighs. They go up, they stretch quite well, but they're also like not too loose that they would deform on smaller legs, so that's quite good. They don't stay up very well, but they stay up good enough. I think that's just a part of knee socks. I might eventually sew them onto like some mesh tights, but for now this is doing the job just fine. So that's the elements of the costume. Next I want to talk about sizing. So I ordered an extra large for this costume, which is the largest size that they offer currently. When I order costumes, I have to be mindful of like the chest size and the hip size. For this costume, the hip size didn't matter that much, but the chest was going to be very important. The costume is a little bit tight on the chest for me, but it's not such a huge hindrance that I can't just move around in it. I do have to like, it does feel a bit awkward to move my arms up, but for the rest it is perfectly fine. But if you are any bit larger than I am, then you're probably not gonna fit into this costume, which is a shame. Miccostumes does sometimes offer larger sizes, but in this case they haven't made a larger size available yet. I have a suspicion that that might happen once the Panty and Stocking remake comes out, but as of right now, extra large is the largest size that they offer. And if you're not sure and kind of afraid that the size chart doesn't have your size, then I would suggest trying to find the costume somewhere else. Then I just have some practical information. So I have washed this costume twice already, just in the washing machine. I always wash my costumes and my clothes in general out on 30 degrees, but it worked fine. Nothing did anything weird. None of the dye bled or anything. The white still looks as white as it was before, and the black fabric looks like black fabric, same with the blue fabric, so that's been quite nice. I'm pretty happy with this costume. It was only $30, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot for a costume, and the quality of the costume very much matches the price that I paid. Again, it was very accurate to the photos that were on the website that Miccostumes provides themselves, so there was nothing like super shocking about this costume. I do find this very amusing, but that's just me. I found it amusing when I saw it on the site, and I found it more amusing when I saw it in real life, but it met the expectations I had for it. I'm happy with it. I was very happy to wear it during Heroes Made in Asia. Yeah, I definitely see myself wearing this costume in the future again, possibly with a panty cosplayer if I can find one. That would be sick. So that was my review for the Stocking Anarchy costume by Miccostumes. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it was helpful in deciding whether this costume is for you or not. If you have any personal experience with ordering from Miccostumes, whether it's the same or a totally different type of experience, do leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what other people think, because I've never had to deal with like customer service with this store because it's all been pretty solid. I live in the Netherlands, so it takes about 2 weeks for packages to arrive here. That is the estimate that they give, and it's always been, all the packages that I've ordered from them have been consistent with that time frame, but maybe it's different in your country, so all that information leave in the comments below because that's helpful. Don't forget to subscribe for more cosplay related content. I don't just review costumes on here, I try and do a little bit of everything, and make sure to give it a like so I know that you enjoyed it. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!